the master came back and was like, let me see what you did. Right. And so the two servants that multiplied, right, was smart with the money, made investments, the master rewarded them for action and growth. Hey there, family. Gabrielle here, daughter of the Almighty, mom to two amazing kids, and a Yorkie named Luna. Also, I'm a fellow Christian business owner. If you're ready to say yes to financial clarity and exchange chaos for calm, you're in the right place. We're diving deep into strong faith, practical stewardship, and savvy bookkeeping. All right, family, grab your coffee and your notebook. Let's talk about God, business, and getting those books in order. Welcome back, family, to another episode of Guiding Grace Bookkeeping. I'm so glad you're here with me today. So, of course, I always say this about every episode, but we're going to sit down and grab your coffee because we're about to get deep again. All right, so today we're going to go back to biblical stewardship. So, it might sound like a church word, but it is the most important word for your small business finances. Okay. I remember when I first started my business, I felt like I owned every penny. Not Guided Grace Bookkeeping, but Gyra Bookkeeping, the first one, right? Because when I was launching that business, it was a very, very tough time financially for my family, and I was panicking, trying to take control of everything, trying to make a way for my family to get out of the financial hardship loop that felt like we were stuck in. So I felt like, okay, if I brought in $5,000 this month, that's $5,000. That's all mine going into my house bills. Because again, unemployed, hard times. That was during the pandemic, and everyone was trying to make it, so to speak. Excuse me. But of course, what our plans is not God's plans, right? So, of course, the Bible flips that script. So, we are managers, not owners, right? The feeling of overwhelm often comes from confusing ownership with stewardship. All right. So stewardship is managing someone else's resources faithfully. In this case, your business is a resource God has entrusted with you. So you have to manage it with grace. You have to manage it with integrity. You have to go before God before making any decisions with your business because it's not yours, it's His, and He's trusting you to be a good steward. All right. So we're going to talk about three different biblical examples. And the first one we're going to go to is the parable of talents, Matthew chapter 25. All right. Some of you may know this. If you don't, grab your Bible or just stick with me. We're going to skim over it a little briefly. Okay. So basically, in Matthew 25, the parable that Jesus provided, it briefly tells the story of the master giving money to three of his servants. Okay. So there was two of them who multiplied the money. They took it, they reinvested, they flipped it, they made more, right? And then there was one who buried it. So it was the same. It didn't grow, nothing. He just buried it in the dirt for safekeeping. Okay. So the master came back and was like, let me see what you did. Right. And so the two servants that multiplied, right, was smart with the money, made investments, the master rewarded them for action and growth. All right. But the master didn't reward the servant for saving the money, burying it in the dirt, and it didn't do anything because it was fear, because he was worried about like any repercussions that his master would give him if he tried to do anything with the money. So he just buried it. Right. So bookkeeping habit That's number one, that's relatable to this example, is having a growth mindset. So you use your bookkeeping not just to track what you spent, but to plan for profit and identify growth opportunities. So when you look at your numbers, do you see a mountain of debt or do you see a field to cultivate? That's a good thing to think about. So the good steward looks at, for example, quarter three profits and says, I can reinvest X amount here because my numbers show growth is possible, right? So bookkeeping should inspire faithful action and not paralyze you with fear. The fear is not of the Lord, it is of the enemy. And what did we talk about in yesterday's episode? The Lord commanded us to what? Be strong and courageous. Joshua 1:9. All right. So we are going to be good stewards by identifying growth opportunities in our bookkeeping, the growth mindset. So important. All right. This is a little touchy. This is actually not a little touchy, a lot of touchy. So, I want to, before I go into this next tip, I want to basically put a baseline here in regards to go before the Lord and how He wants you to do this for your particular business. All right. So, biblical example number two is priority principle, giving and tithing. I'm going to be 1,679,000,000% honest with you. I tithe. Guiding Grace Bookkeeping, because God is the CEO of my business, I tithe. Okay? Whatever I pay myself, I give. When I do an owner straw, we'll go over that in a different episode. When I do an owner straw out of my business, I give 10% off of that to God because that's an increase in my finances, and any increase in my finances belongs to my Father because He blessed me with it. Okay? So in the Bible, all right, in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 9, it said is instructing us to honor God with our first fruits. And it also discuss about, rendering to Caesar in Matthew 22, verse 21. But we're going to focus on Proverbs 3, verse 9, okay? Because we have to honor God with our first fruit. Because again, this is not our money. This is His. He given it to us to be good stewards. And all He asks is 10% of those first fruit, and it's way cheaper than self-employment taxes or taxes, period. Okay, can I get an amen? So financial stewardship starts with prioritization and separation. You must separate your resources because they belong to different entities. So God first, the government, and then your business operating funds, right? Or your pay. All right. So the bookkeeping habit number two, immediately separate your business income into two buckets. This is the separation rule. One, necessary operating funds, your cost of doing business, and two, your taxes, tithe, profit bucket. All right. So we all get that big invoice paid and think, we made some dollar bills, y'all. But if you haven't separated that tax money or the tithes, you've already failed your stewardship test. Okay, so a good steward separates the money before they even look at it available for spending. You get it, you give that money its job. You give it, you get it, and you tithes accordingly. You put your money away for taxes, an estimate, so that your business is not behind on taxes or you don't get a surprise. And again, like I said, pray to the Lord on how He wants your 10% to go. How does He want your business to be a tithing business? Because I tithe off of the fact that when Guiding Grace Bookkeeping pays me, Gabrielle, I give the Lord 10% of that. That is my relationship. That is my discussion with my Father. And that's what I felt led to do. If that changes, I'll holler at y'all and let y'all know what my revelation is because it may could be useful to someone else. But that's there. I'm going to leave that there. I task you with going before the Father to get your tithing scenario straight with the Lord. The last and final biblical example, building on rock versus sand. Oh, y'all remember this one? Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. Okay. So in this parable, Jesus was talking about the wisdom of building a house on a strong foundation so it can withstand the storm. So your daily bookkeeping habits are the foundation of your business. If your financial house is built on sand, sporadic tracking, missing receipts, guessing, not tracking nothing, jotting down something here and there on a spreadsheet, the first tax audit you got, the storm will wash it away. You won't be prepared. You got to guess, and it's going to be stressful. Okay, stressful, guys. Hear me. Hear me. I do bookkeeping on a daily basis. The stress that people have when they come to me for help is insane, because if they just did the basics of tracking their expenses and income, being a diligent steward, it wouldn't be as stressful around now. Okay. So I know, so the, I know you want to skip this, but the daily non-negotiable is do 15 minutes of financial work every day. No exception. Do not let your receipts pile up for like a whole month. All right. You get home exhausted and you'll think I'll do it Friday, but that's building on sand. The wise steward doesn't wait for the flood. They do the work when the sun is shining or before the sun is up, depending on how you start your day. All right. Because before I start my day, it's still night outside and I'm confused if it's the morning or is it still in the wee hours of the night. So your 15-minute daily check-in is the rock solid foundation that keeps your business standing. All right. So those are the three takeaways. 1, have a growth mindset. 2, practice separation, your 2 buckets. And 3, be consistent. Build on a rock. Okay. You are not just a business owner. You are a steward of a gift. Take that small faithful step this week. All right. Your consistency is your truest act of faith. All righty. So if you're ready to get started, my virtual, like I like to say, discovery call, /coffee chat is just $25, non-commitment. Okay. And this fee ensures we both respect our time and are committed to creating a real financial plan for your business. All right. So I'm here to help you build a rock solid bookkeeping foundation. It's not a conversion to, a client. It is a 30-minute consultation that lets me talk to you personally one-on-one. Don't worry, you don't have to, because this podcast, I'm giving it all to you, all raw. I'm not holding nothing. But if you want that more personal one-on-one with me, head over to the show notes. The link is in the description, and we'll set some time together to have some growth mindset together. All right. Until next time, thank you and have a blessed rest of your day. As we close out today's episode of Guiding Grace Bookkeeping, I truly pray that something resonated with your heart and brought you closer to financial clarity and peace. If you felt that connection, or if a specific insight sparked something within you, please consider taking a moment to leave us a review and subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more individuals like you. And if you know someone yearning for more grace and wisdom in their finances, be a blessing and share this episode with them. Remember, walking by faith and managing with grace can transform your entire world. Until next time, stay blessed, keep shining, and let's keep those books looking beautiful.